This podcast is part of the Spoon Podcast Network, home of smart conversations that feed your mind.
Hi, I'm Amy Wu, and welcome to Women Innovators in Food and Farming, where I spotlight some of the innovators and entrepreneurs behind the technology and innovation shaping the future of food and farming. I am an award-winning journalist specializing in writing about food and ag innovation, and the founder of From Farms to Incubators, a multimedia platform that tells the stories of women in the space. I am very excited to have with me today our guest, Fatma Kaplan, the co-founder and CEO of Pheronym. I am going to introduce Fatma, and then we're just going to jump right into the conversation and discussion. Fatma is an entrepreneur and accomplished scientist with experience in both biology and chemistry. She has a PhD in plant molecular and cellular biology, and she's done her postdoc training in natural product chemistry with a focus on isolating biologically active compounds. Fatma, I'm sure you can talk more about that. A little bit about Pheronym is it is a Davis, California-based ag biotech company that uses pheromones to control plant parasitic nematodes and insect pests in the soil. Well, Fatma, it's super exciting to connect again. I've known you for a number of years now, right? Interviewing you for the book From Farms to Incubators, and you've been really very gracious with sharing your insights and knowledge with us, and very supportive, especially when it comes to mentoring and inspiring the next generation of young people and women to consider pathways in ag and food innovation. So let's just jump right in to our conversation. For our listeners today, please describe the innovation your company has and what challenges within agriculture it tackles.
Let me start with farmers because we are helping farmers to grow more food so they can take care of the world population. And farmers have a very challenging task of producing food. Without pest control, farmers would lose 30 to 80% of their crops. And that's not it either. Even with the current pest control solutions, they're still losing $300 billion crops annually globally. And on top of that, 50% of the topsoil is degraded. So their current solutions, synthetic pesticides, are not enough. So they need a solution that would nurture the soil and at the same time would have less carbon footprint because there is a huge amount of carbon emissions from the agriculture, 30% of the carbon emissions. So with the pheromone, we are developing a pheromone product to control agricultural pests in the soil, which is helping farmers to nurture their soil with a very small carbon footprint due to just pheromones themselves because they're effective at such a small concentration. So they have a very small footprint in the environment. Also, we have a novel manufacturing method which uses fermentation, and it also has 90% less carbon emissions.
Well, thank you. So thanks for sharing a bit of that, Fatma, as well. And we focus on the area of farmers, right? Especially, it is really to help them tackle farming challenges. So, first of all, can you talk a little bit about the commercialization of the product? Is it available out there? I'm thinking the farmers are like, yes, yes, I'm interested. Where are we with that now? And can you share a bit about that?
It has been a pretty good journey so far. You know, the start of the our product development, we have showed with the USDA, with the third party trials, our product works and our prototype works. And the next big challenge for us was manufacturing. And in the past 2 to 3 years, we have showed that we have a scalable manufacturing. We transitioned to bioreactors and we scale up to 5 liters. Well, what that means is with 1 liter fermentation product, we can actually treat 2 to 4 acres. Now we have enough prototypes, we can work with the commercial partners to commercialize. And also, right now, we're targeting to scale up to 100 liter and from there to pilot. By the end of this year, we target to have packages to get into the market and at least one contract.
Exciting. So that's really exciting. What I'm hearing is by the end of this year, it's going to probably, we're looking at for it to go commercial, and then farmers will be able to purchase it, right? To put it simply.
Yes, yes.
So with the prototypes or with the what I call beta testing or testing, can you talk a little bit about what the reaction of farmers has been, and can you share a story or two of how it's anecdotally about how it's helped farmers?
Um, Farmers are very excited about it, and currently the test we have done is with the USDA scientists and the university scientists to address the challenges. We have talked to ag chem companies,
Hmm.
ag input companies, but they were interested. They are very excited about our results to bring it to their farmers and the product they're helping to farmers. The startups don't directly sell to farmers, and we always have a trusted network. It's a relationship business because farmers trust to certain retailers or the ag companies, ag input companies. So we will be partnering with those companies and nematodes suppliers to reach out to farmers.
And how would this big picture wise really impact the consumers, you think? I mean, this is really kind of a macro view of things, right? At the end of the day, we're looking at a population of probably 10 billion or plus in 2050. And there's a growing challenge, bolded and highlighted, of producing food for folks for everybody who eats. So, with your innovation, looking at kind of the bigger picture of things, how would the consumer benefit from this?
We have a very small input in the environment, both the carbon footprint, and our product also nurtures the soil. A couple of years ago, we went to one of the farmers' conferences. And one of the things they told us is in that this is a very big farm, and he's also our investor as a farmer. They really care about regenerative ag. They are five generation farmers. What they told us is over time, their topsoil degraded. And it didn't really matter how much chemical pesticides or fertilizer they used, it just didn't increase the yield. And
Hmm.
they were one of the leaders. They want regenerative ag. They want solution that nurtures the topsoil. They said they have been nurturing the topsoil. When the topsoil was nurtured, their yield started increasing. So what does that mean for the consumers? For the consumers, it means a healthier food for them that
Hmm.
provides good environmental conditions. It feeds their soil. It nurtures their soil. That means more food and hopefully with less prices.
Hopefully, less pricey as well. Let's go to your own story and personal biography a bit. I recall that you grew up among farms. Is that correct?
Yes. My grandfather was a hazelnut farmer, and I grew up partially at a farm, and I spent my summer in the farm.
Yeah, if you can talk a little bit about that. Where again are you? Where's your hometown? And talk a little bit about how agriculture was a part of your growing up, perhaps.
So I grew up in a farming family. So I care about the soil. And when I was growing up, my grandfather used to say how much the pest control made a difference in their yield. And that was really important for them. And they were using chemical pesticides at that time. And as we were growing up, we started learning about the chemicals and how that influenced. And I was really interested in biological control when I was in college. Well, when you grow up in a farming community and grow up in a farming family, your natural interest is go to College of Ag. So my undergraduate is in agriculture engineering. Then I had the opportunity to come to US with a fellowship from Turkish government to go to graduate school for master's and PhD. And I did my master's in horticulture sciences and PhD in plant molecular and cellular biology, where I wanted to breed the plants so they would be resistant to pests and diseases, as opposed to using the chemical pesticides. Then I did my postdoc in College of Medicine to identify mating pheromone from this model nematode C. elegans. I was very interested in this project when my postdoc advisor approached me, because I knew that plant parasitic nematodes made a huge damage. We nearly lost a whole grape industry and wine industry because of plant
Mm.
parasitic nematodes. And those plants were not resistant, and they were decimated due to this microscopic roundworm. And then one of the scientists brought in a rootstock that was resistant to plant parasitic nematodes. That's how they saved. And when I was approached by my advisor, that was the time it was methyl bromide was uh, removed from the market. That was also used for controlling plant parasitic nematodes. And the plant parasitic nematodes started overcoming the resistance and the resistant germlines. So farmers really needed a solution. And I was in Florida at that time, and USDA recruited me. Can you apply this technology, this new knowledge to
Mm.
control plant parasitic nematodes? Considering my background, I jumped into this position and I said, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help farmers. And I,
Yeah, and from my memory, Fatma, we were moving onto an academic path. Is that correct? You were
yes.
on an academic path, actually. So maybe you could also talk about what your original plans were and how you shifted to becoming an entrepreneur. It looks like there was a turning point there, right?
Oh,
Was
yes.
there?
So for me, USDA versus uh, being a faculty didn't look to me all that different,
Hmm.
because the USDA unit I was there was pretty much on campus, and they were collaborating and working together. Some of the USDA scientists was actually University of Florida faculty. So for me to bring it to the market, and then you'll never know how the politics affect your life. So
Hmm.
politics came in and USDA started shrinking. And of course, the last hire goes first, and my contract was not renewed. Well, they did
Mm.
extend it several years, but it got to a point that it was almost 4 years. So it was fairly difficult for them to renew it. But when I was working with the USDA scientists, they had the same idea that this technology, this knowledge had a potential to make a product
Mm.
farmers. So when I left USDA, they all asked me, can we collaborate, write grants, and bring this technology to the market? And
Hmm.
I thought this was a really great idea. And I didn't really know at that time, because I didn't really, I never brought a product to the market before, turned a scientific knowledge in the lab to the product. I imagined working myself with university extension agents and the
Hmm.
big ag chem companies to bring the product to the market. And this time we actually got funding. When we got
Mm.
funding, I got into an incubator in Florida. They had mentors, so they guided us initially how to raise funds for additional sources. Then we ended up
Mm.
in an accelerator called Indie Bio Accelerator in San Francisco. We came to California.
So would
Then
you say that the incubators, Fatma, and the accelerators were a big factor in helping you get into becoming an entrepreneur as well, is what I'm
uh,
hearing?
yes, they have a lot of mentors, and product development is not just about science. It's just one part of it. It's an important part, but it is one
Hmm.
part. When you have business, you need the lawyers who would help out to secure your IP, intellectual property,
Hmm.
and you need the communication. And even though it is called marketing, but you need
Yeah.
this one to informed investors. This would be potential partners for the funding side. The ag input companies are potential customers, farmers, how to reach out to them, how to explain the technology. So the communication is really important. And you need that ecosystem. And California had it. And you need advisors who have done this process, not just from the big companies, actually from startups. Somebody who
Hmm.
didn't have anything and
Yeah.
started with an idea. Then we recruited Pam Marone, who's leader of the biological space. And we were
Hmm.
very lucky on that aspect. Yes, incubator and accelerators have networks and mentors that we can reach out to in every aspect of business.
I mean, that sounds wonderful. I mean, it sounds like you were able to connect with different resources, including some mentors, like you mentioned, Pam Marone as well, right?
Yes.
But in terms of being an entrepreneur, just broadly, even in especially in the space of agri-food tech, what hurdles did you discover there were? And I'm sure, and maybe what were some of the biggest hurdles, barriers, challenges in looking at your journey? And specifically with how did you address them? How did you tackle them? And maybe you continue to tackle them.
I can say three major barriers. One is money. It's always difficult. That's really important. Second is infrastructure. So that is where incubator accelerators are really, really helpful. Accelerators have money. In our case, in the Bio Accelerator had both provided funds, investment, and they had a lab space. So we
Hmm.
could actually do prototyping and communicating. It was really helpful. Then we moved to Davis, where the ACT school is. Then you need
Hmm.
the talent. Without the talent, you can't really go too far either. It's a partnership, even with your first employee. It's not just an employee, it's your partner to get the science moving forward.
Hmm.
So, yeah, three major thing having talent, money. Without
Hmm.
money, you can't really hire talent.
Right.
And the infrastructure for biotech is really, really high. So we need the incubators to overcome that. So that's a catalyst.
Yeah.
For
Thank you.
funding,
Mm-hmm.
we applied very different resources because investment is not readily available to women founders. It's only 2% of all VC funds. Women have access to just 2%. It's almost like nothing. But
Wow.
even that small amount is really critical. We were able to synergize both investments from incubator accelerators, mentorship programs, and the grant funding to accomplish many of our goals to bring our product to the market.
Mhm. Interesting, Fatma. That statistic that you brought up about just 2%. Wow, what a small amount, what a small percentage. From your own perspective, why is that? Has that been the case? Maybe even using your own personal experience, and where do you see it kind of shifting to?
I don't know why it is. I think it is the systemic, it's the system that is trained to fund male founders.
Hmm.
And it's the training both women and men to invest in men versus they're not trained to invest in women. And we have a lot of role models, successful male role models, and we have to highlight the women role models. And we have to train everyone that we can see success both in men and women, and particularly women. That's why I love your podcast and your efforts to highlight women. We need role models for women and men to see, yes, successful women role models that investment in women will pay off. Despite the statistics that women actually, investment in women brings more to the table, but we don't really have enough role models. And or we have enough role models, but making them visible is just as important in addition to having role models.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. How have you also made it a point to perhaps share your own story or be a mentor? From my memory, you also do talks or you have an internship program. Can you talk a little bit about how you've played a role as well in contributing to that?
We do have interns from local communities in Davis, but I have done it when I was in Florida too. And we also provide some career guidance and what
Hmm.
kind of things would make them, show their skills and highlight and one of my intern actually was hired. She was from food science, and she was really interested in working for food science. But she was able to see a lot of relevant things in our workplace. She was hired based on our training. That's what she also attributes pretty much on the spot. She said she was interviewed on Friday. On Monday, she was offered a job position, and right after out of the college, and many of the things she said, she had a practical interview. Everything she has done with us and practice every day, and we also have them practice presentation during weekly meeting. Every week they present once a week to get to know their progress, and at the same time, this gives them a confidence to talk in
Mhm.
front of people, group of people, and also in the lab. And that practical experience, they were so impressed. It was basically she was offered a job on the spot, and she's very happy. I have another student, when I was in Florida, she got into medical school, and she said during her interview she talked about everything she did at Pheronym, and she attributed the diverse experience she have, and the professional development opportunities that got them to where they are. And I am always happy to see their success, because I see it, their success, whether they work with us or they go on to their goals. Their success is my success, and
Mhm.
I'm very proud of them. And I do follow them on LinkedIn, and they post. It's like every time I see they reach to a milestone that they want to reach out, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's really wonderful. I want to flip back to the original question that we were chatting about, which was the challenges, and the top one was funding. I recall you mentioning that there are other avenues of funding, such as grants and other ways, right, to acquire investment and so forth. So, currently with your company, how are you moving? I understand that you were with incubators and accelerators. They provided a wealth of resources, but how is your funding situation currently? And where are you now, and where do you see things headed? As we kind of move forward in the next year. And I'm kind of also within that wondering where you see the ag tech landscape going when it comes to investment in the field also.
Oh, that is pretty much probably everyone is wondering where the investment is going. We're going to be raising investment funds, our seed round, but the current environment is fairly uncertain. I don't know what the investors are thinking, at least the ones we talked to. Didn't seem like they were affected by the current climate, but they might still be in shock that they
Mm-hmm.
haven't responded to it. So we're really very closely watching how it is going. And our plan was to get into the market and raise grant funding and the investment. We haven't changed any of our plans, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
moved a little bit faster, trying to move faster to get into the market. So for us, luckily, it didn't happen the current environment a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, I wish we had been a lot further, so we would be feeling a little bit better. But I would say the current uncertainty is it's concerning and very.
Well, in terms of the another topic that's also very timely, we talk about the funding landscape and the changes, but we also talk about AI, right? Nobody can sort of avoid the bringing up of that topic and so forth. How has AI played a role in your company and your innovation right now? How is it being used?
AI is really critical with many of the things we can use. One of the things we plan to make it efficient is our quality control by assays, quantification, and it can save us a lot more time. And sometimes I see articles: is AI taking jobs versus creating jobs? I think AI will be making our work a lot more efficient, And I don't think it's
Mm.
taking away any jobs because we're employing AI for the jobs that many people don't want to do. It's monotonous and it doesn't really, it's more on the labor that and the people we hire, they want to be really intellectually active. So it's going to be making them more productive and happier. And at least, and in the future, we plan to use it for discovery.
Interesting. Can you share a little bit more about that? What do you mean by discovery? Are there any is there an example of how that would be used as you develop
Um,
your product?
One way is to predict the future pheromones, how they would
Hmm.
interact, because the pheromones don't really affect as a single compound. We are dealing with the mixtures. And in the future, we're targeting different behaviors. Currently, our first two application is on the one is dispersal and infectivity for the beneficial nematode,
Hmm.
and for our second product is sensing the host and deciding infect versus not to infect. But there are many other behaviors with the pheromones. We can control attraction, repulsion, and in different nematode species to speed up our discovery, to utilize different nematode behaviors in different species and different mixtures, it will help to speed up the discovery and bringing more product to the market. One other place is how can we relate to laboratory trials to greenhouse and the field trials? Can we predict even from the laboratory what's going to happen in the field? Currently, we are collecting data. Many of our trials so far, we have really good lab tests, then corresponding greenhouse trials and the field trials, and how do they correlate? Can we actually predict?
Hmm.
So one side is the discovery, and another one is how fast we can bring them to the market or the anticipation in the field trials. We think it can speed up.
Excellent. And turning back a little bit about how you started, develop the company, and continue to grow the company. As far as I understand, you are a co-founder of the company, correct? Who is your other co-founder of the company? Can you talk a little bit about that, and as far as and how do you guys work together?
So I'm the, I'm one of the co-founder and CEO. So I target the main fundraising and the CS. I also have the CSO role. So I just identified potential scientists who can potentially grow into that role, and that's our goal. You know, with many of our scientists, can they grow into that role? They, if they do, we're very happy. So, because my role currently is getting toward full time CEO as we are moving forward, and that's our anticipation. And my co-founder is Carl Cameron Schiller, and he looks at he has two roles. Is basically he does the financials and he also does the COO role, make sure that everything functions, the accounting or taxes. If something breaks in the lab, he fixes, or bookkeeping. Many of the things that is invisible but makes the company work, he does. And paying the bills, you know, it may not look like it's all that important, but he's also our Office of Sponsored Research. When we apply for the grants, universities have their Office of Sponsored Research. There is a whole department there. In our case, my co-founder does that, budgeting and submitting grants, and I do the research part. Budget, we all work together. So basically, one half is the science part, and all the other parts are accomplished by my co-founder. So ideally, I would like to have three co-founders.
Yeah,
That would have been, I think, a lot easier in some ways to get things moving. But you,
yeah.
you move
I
forward
from
with
what I
what you got.
Right. And it's important to have the support and the success, right, from all the different co-founders as well, correct? So in
Yeah.
sort of looking at the broader success of things. Um, Well, I was also going to say that we're moving into very quickly into we're in the new year, and now we're kind of moving towards now already February, March. Can you talk a little bit about some of the activities or things that you have over the next let's say the next quarter or so? I see you're going to be speaking maybe at some large ag tech conferences. Can you talk about some of the potential milestones you hope to achieve over the next two couple of quarters?
So our goal is actually working with potential partners. I already reached out to them, and I'm also reaching out for field trials and testing our prototype. And in the past several years, we developed relationship, and the companies are interested. And it will be scheduling and testing our prototype with commercial partners. In the meantime, let's see, maybe in a quarter later, if you talk to me, I might say we scaled up to 100 liters. So that is what we're working on right now to getting ready to scale up to 100 liters, both upstream and downstream pheromone. And at the end of the year, I'm targeting to have a pilot, and we could have some packages we can show. Next year
Mm-hmm.
around this time, I should be able to show you some packages. So,
That's very, very exciting. Yeah.
yes,
Well,
does this answer your question?
yeah,
Oh,
it does. It's sounding like that basically the big milestone, it's more than a milestone, is to go to commercialization at the end by the end of the year, correct? And you're looking for partners and collaborators with that. I mean, one thing I did want to clarify is that did you move up the commercialization because of the landscape and because of the where we are now in terms of the timing of things?
no, that was our plan. We haven't changed our plans. Well, I think
Okay.
that might be because women founders don't really get much funds, so they always operate lean. And our goal, right from the beginning, we realized that women founders don't really get funding, and we have to get into the market as fast as possible. So we're going with the same speed. The only thing we sped things up is on the investment fundraising. But pretty much everything is the same. And we were operating on a lean budget, and we're still operating on a lean budget.
In terms of women founders or and innovators who launch their own companies and startups, do you have any advice for our listeners out there on fundraising? I mean, you and I have talked on numerous levels on the challenges of fundraising, but in your journey, what have you learned? Can you offer a few tips on how to crack fundraising?
Oh, I wish I was able to crack fundraising. I would say be optimistic. Optimism is really, really important. And don't wait until you're ready, at least in your mind. You think you're ready. Here is, I'm going to get funding. Just go out and talk to people. Networking, networking, networking. And surround yourself with advisors who believes in your product development and who believes in you, because having positive people is really important because they open the doors for you, and they recommend, they highlight what you do. And having a really good network is important, and in a really good ecosystem that supports startups. I think one of the success we had is coming to California and being in Davis and San Francisco, where a lot of startups are. There is a really good startup ecosystem,
Mhm.
and it's not just the money actually that makes you successful, it's the whole ecosystem, finding the things that are related to banking. You know, you never think about it, but the banks that are friendly to startups and angel investors, friendly to startups, you'll never know where the money is going to show up and how much. It's when you're networking, people are who are interested in science, and if you're a science-based technology and like science, and we find a lot of people who are interested in science, and they say, "Tell me more about it." They're excited about it, and then they go and talk to their friends. So that creates a really nice word of mouth. and the advisor who are excited about your technology because they go and talk to their network with an excitement. And let's see, yeah, I would say good mentorship programs, having a ecosystem that support startups. And it takes a village to raise a child, and it is the same thing. It takes a village to make a successful startups, connections, and people who are connected to business. Another advantage of Davis is they have seat central events where all of the industry and the UC Davis students meet, and that's an opportunity to get to know the talent, to hire, and the big industry for partnership. Again, this is an ecosystem that connects every parts. And sometimes angel investors come there. You get to meet potential investors and everyone together. Same thing with San Francisco. We can travel there day trip. Many conferences where conferences, industry conferences where we can meet.
Oh, I really love that. That's really rich, and thanks for imparting some of your wisdoms. A lot of what I'm hearing is positivity and surrounding yourself in a really awesome environment in many different ways and supportive. So, what has kept you going? I mean, this journey is now moving towards now you're in your seventh year, eighth year. When will the anniversary be? You've is it in your 10 years, Patma, since you've started, or remind us?
I think Pheronym is, let's see, 8 years.
Okay, 8 years. I was close. Um, and you've talked about opportunities. You've also talked about challenges. So, what keeps you going on this?
I believe in this technology that is going to help farmers. And particularly coming from a farming family, I know what it means to the farmers. It makes a huge difference in their lives. Even though I grew up with chemical pesticides after going through college, and you know what it does to soil, I want something that helps our soil and helps our farmers and keeps us healthy. And it's not just the soil chemical pesticide, toxic chemicals affect, it also affect our health too. I want to leave something good for our kids and future generation.
Mm.
It has a, for me, special connection that I can do it. I'm a farmer. I have an education to do it. And it's also my responsibility to do it.
I really love that. As we come to a close on our conversation today, what is your crystal ball for the broader agri-food tech industry? For in the near future and maybe in the long term, you think we're going to see more and more ag tech?
I think as the big companies are merging, there's only a few big company. I think startups are going to be crucial for developing new technologies. And I expect to see more startups. Without startups, I don't think there will be new technology department because when the companies merge, R&D is the first to go because there's overlapping. So what that means is less development or less discovery and bringing new products to the market because they're merging now. They have more money with the merger of the new products, so there is no need for the development. But if you want to be leaders in ag and help farmers, then we will have to have more startups. And I think the big companies will realize maybe 10 years from now, they have to support the startups to bring new products to the market. I see a lot more biotech startup in the next 10 years. In every aspect of the maybe agriculture, the startups will be leading the new technologies.
Well, thank you so much, Fatma, for again sharing your time and your insight and your story and your crystal ball with us as well. And I'm going to sign off until the next episode. Please check out my new podcast, Women Innovators in Food and Farming. Thank you very much, Fatma.
Thank you, Amy, for inviting.